All right, good evening. Another live market observation. This is volume number 37. Volume number 37. Oh, excuse me. All right, so hopefully audio is coming through clear. As you make your way on, please be sure to like and share the video from whatever platform you are tuning in from. So if you're, for example, tuning in from Facebook, follow the TeamAlliance page. Turn on the bell notifications once you have liked and shared the video. If you're tuning in from, YouTube, like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell notifications. And of course, if you're tuning in from Twitter, be sure to retweet after you have after you have liked and shared the video. All right. So we are looking at the NADEX platform. This is the platform that we use to capitalize on our understanding of the market. Binary options are the instrument of choice that we are using here. The binaries make it possible for us to interpret the market's movement and then apply that information to the binaries in a way that produces a profitable transaction, also known as a trade. NADEX is an exchange, so for every person who is trading on one side of the market, there is someone who will be trading on the other side in order to create the transaction. So this is why, depending on the pricing that you are attempting to get on the trade, you may or may not be filled on your trade. It all depends on if there is someone on the other side to take your trade, because this platform, NADEX, is an actual exchange. It's a real exchange. So none of the volume is inflated or artificial. It's real volume. In other words, there has to be someone there in order for your trade to be filled. So basically, anyone that is trading on the same platform that has the opposite idea of you would be the one that's trading against you. And that is who would fill your order. That's who would actually take the other side of your transaction. All right. I'd like to just give a brief explanation and a synopsis when I begin these of the NADEX platform, just so that you are familiar with it if you're new. Feel free to ask whatever questions you may have. This is a live market observation. So what I am doing primarily is I'm looking at the market visually through the eyes of these red and blue candles that you see on the chart. Also utilizing this green box that you see, which I drew manually. This is one of the tools that we use to isolate the movement, get a clearer picture of what the movement is actually doing, and use that information to apply to the market, or I should say to the binaries, because we're either going to do something or we're not going to do something. We're going to do something or we ain't doing nothing. In order to know, we have to observe. So the observation is more important than the trades, because the observation is what will determine whether your trade is going to be profitable or not. And for us, we're only here to be profitable, period. So because we're not speculating or guessing or flipping a coin with the binaries, we wait for the market to ultimately stabilize its movement. That's the key. Stable movement in the market is the key to you being consistently profitable when you actually trade. Because in order to win a trade, it's simple. You just have to be correct about where the market ends, the position of the market at the end of the expiration of the actual binary contract. So if you're able to do that consistently, you can win these trades consistently. And what that means financially is huge. On this platform, when you're right consistently, you're going to generate a large amount of income as a result. Of course, that would be also amplified by the way that you scale up the size of your trades. And it makes sense to do that. So something that I've always said is, if you're confident in what you're seeing in the market, you should give maximum value to your trades. So this is where the idea of Project Freedom basically came from. Project Freedom is actually one of, or I should say, the most recent project that I have developed. There were many projects and challenges prior to that, but Project Freedom is something that allows you to, within a very relatively short number of trades, a low number of trades, you can ultimately position yourself starting from one contract. So basically starting with $100 in your account with one contract, just by you consistently being correct when you trade, you can turn that one contract into multiple 2- and 3-digit numbers. So when you're scaling up according to the project, 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, 4, so on and so forth. The idea is to maximize every trade that you are going to be in. That way you're making the most productive use of the time, and you're making the most productive use of the trade because you're giving maximum value to the trade when you enter the market. So in order to do that, you have to have skill in the market. That's where we come in, because the majority of people that are trading in Forex and trading on this particular platform that we use, people like to use signals and strategies. And the bottom line is that they don't cut it when it comes to doing this long-term professionally. So if you want to trade at the professional level, you have to actually take the time to learn how to understand the movement of the market. You got to do it. There's no other option. So this is why observation is so important. Observation is the only way that you'll be able to see the market, to know. So basically, with that being said, it becomes easier and easier to see the market with the right training. These observation videos are like trainings, literally, because you see consistency, what we actually look at in the market, what we're looking at and what we're waiting for, like what we're actually anticipating. The market is something that is moving all the time. The question becomes, how is it moving? Excuse me, not necessarily where is it moving, how? Because where is it moving will be determined by how it gets there. So the market can be going to a certain place, but it won't get there within a certain time frame because of how it's moving. Does that make sense? It may get there faster or slower, or within a longer or shorter period of time, all depending on how it's moving. So the behavior of the movement, how it's moving, is actually more important than where it's going. This is another thing that people have a difficult time with. They're trying to figure out, is it going up? Is it going down? And basically, you're trying to predict where it's going in order to set up a trade. That is the worst thing that you could do, because you can be right, but you can be wrong now. And if you're wrong now, you'll lose the trade that you're in. But you were right. You just weren't wrong while you were in the trade. Excuse me. You were right, but you ended up being wrong while you were in the trade. And this is as a result of the timing. Now, see, timing, that's behavior. So if you notice, just from the language that I use in the diction and, the terminology and things that I'm saying, they sound very unorthodox. Just certain words that sound different. Like, what does he mean by that? Behavior. And if you actually take the time and, when you tune into these observations, if you listen and you just pay attention to what I'm saying, it begins to start making sense for you. The market has movement in it all the time. The way that it moves falls into time also. What do I mean by that? Well, the market speeds up, it slows down. The market has different types of energy in the movement, meaning it can be the quiet type of energy where it just moves one particular way, and wherever it goes, it stays there. There are times when it has reversal type of energy where it's going one way in one moment, coming back in the opposite direction or the opposite way in the next moment, all within the same time. So these candles that you see, the red and the blue candles, they are actually breaking down time for you because they represent 60 seconds of market activity. So by looking at not just the candles and how they look, but looking at the size of them, how big are they? In other words, how much movement is in them? How little movement is in them? Is larger movement or smaller movement dominating the market? In other words, are the candles smaller? Are they bigger? If they're bigger, is bigger candles what dominates the market currently? If they're smaller, is smaller candles what dominates the market? So the answer to those questions lets you know what type of condition you're in the market. They also help you to see how the market transitions from one condition to the other. You visually see how the market transitions from big candles to small ones. And because you know that that's how the market moves and that's the nature of it, it becomes easier to recognize it as you observe. So observation is how you actually sharpen your ability to see the market. One of the questions that people ask me so often: how did you know the market was going there? How did you know the market was going to do that? And it's not that you know that the market is going to do anything. It's more like you are seeing what the market is doing now. And when you see and recognize what the market is doing, and when what it is doing falls in alignment with stability, what that means is you now know the outcome of what it's doing. So if you know the outcome of what it is doing, you'll know the outcome if you enter into a trade. So that's how you know. See, this is how you take the guessing out of it. You have to understand the behavior, what it means. See, this is powerful. Like, it really is. Like, the more and more that I explain the different aspects of how we see this, the more powerful it really becomes. This is powerful information. You can look at the candles and get a whole snapshot of the market and know right away if the market is stable or not, if the market is stabilizing or not, if the market is transitioning or not. You'll know what's dominating the market. You'll know what this movement means in real time. In other words, is what I'm seeing now the market reverting back to what it is already doing? Or is what I'm seeing now what the market is going to start doing? These questions get answered. For example, you'll see big candles oftentimes, but big candles don't always mean the same thing. Big candles don't always mean the same thing. When you have dominant big candles, that's different than when you have a big candle during a time when smaller candles dominate. Two totally different meanings. The same big candle means something different depending on what's dominating the market. You see? And this is how you can anticipate when the market positions itself during times when the market is stable. So just to elaborate even more, when you have the market with the smaller candles dominating, and then you see a larger candle. The larger candle typically is moving the market into another position. When that new position that it moves to then realigns itself, what you'll start to see is smaller candles manifesting again. This is what creates what we refer to as RCB. Because the components of RCB include the range, meaning the smaller candles, the barrier, meaning the position that the market moves to where it now is respecting, and then the clusters, which is when you have multiple candles respecting the barrier. See, the clusters are created because of the barrier being respected, all while the market is in a range, meaning smaller candle dominance. This is powerful, man. This is powerful. This is one layer of stability now that we're looking at right here. You see how these candles are in this box for a period of time? Let's see how long it's been in here for. This is from 11:33 to now. So a little over 10 minutes. Going on 15 minutes. Market's been inside of this box. What does the box represent? The box just simply represents the distance between two strike prices. This top strike price, which is this level, and this bottom strike price, which is this level. That's what the box is. See, so you see how simple that is? Now, the fact that you have this activity taking place here in the box, prior to this, you see all of the movement that you had here, where the candles were various sizes, and it really was pretty steady movement. It just all happened to be upwards and in the same trajectory, pretty much. It just was a continuous move going up. When you start to see that the market is holding inside of the box, so for example, market stayed inside the box for a period here. Now the market is here in the new box, staying inside of the box once again for another period of time. And this is how you start to see the layers unfold. Because this was one time when the market stayed in the box, and here's another. So that layer you see coming into fruition. What else do you have? What are the layers? Another layer that you also have is smaller candles. Just like I just described. Excuse me. You have the smaller candles starting to dominate, right? Which means that these bigger candles mean something different now. Here you had a bigger candle which moved the position of the market into an entirely new box. Here inside the box, you had these bigger candles move the market's position from the bottom of this box back to the middle. You had the market just do it again just now. Larger candle, move the market to this position here. Now another candle is bringing it back up to the middle. Mind you, what is the common denominator of everything that's going on here? The fact that it's staying inside the box. So through observation, you can see how you're seeing the market. This is a lot of information that I just gave you. Powerful information. Because we're able to answer the question of why. Well, why is it staying in the box? Well, one, smaller candles. That's one reason right there. Smaller candles are dominating. That's why when you see the larger candles, all they're doing is moving the position of the market. The same way that this larger candle here moved the position of the market entirely out of this box into this one. and it's been inside of this box ever since. So this behavior is just letting you know that, yes, the market is stabilizing. And now that you know that, the layers are manifesting. So you're waiting to see the layers unfold into an actual RCB, which is when the other layers come into fruition alongside the market being in the box. Because you're seeing that now. Market is staying in the box. RCB confirms that the market is in a range, that the market positions itself and creates a barrier, and then it respects that barrier and creates a cluster. And when you have all of those things manifest, it will create the RCB. And if the market decides to present with an actual trade that sets up, that'll be the trade that we're going to be in. Because the market literally is giving us that trade. We don't have to look for it. See? So some of the exercises that I like to do. Here's one. Right now, for example, as I'm looking at this, I'll ask the question, well, based on what I'm seeing, is the market going to continue to remain in the box? This is an exercise that I personally use. I'll look at this and I'll ask that question. Is the market going to stay in this box? So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm looking to see, well, based on where the market is right now, why is it just staying here? Why is it holding this? Like you see I was in the same position, it's just staying there. Why? Well, let's look at what it's been doing. 6847. And this area here where it is right now, 6846. So basically the market is respecting what it has already created back here. This is what is called a barrier. You even saw it earlier back here. Look at this. Same area, 4-5. So the market is simply just revisiting the same area. It's respecting it, and that explains why it's respecting that point and not going past it. See, it's respecting what it has created. Mind you, it's done all of this while inside the box also. So not only do you have the box, which within itself is a layer that helps you to see that the market is stabilizing by how long the market remains in it, but inside of that, you're also seeing a barrier. Not to mention, you also have smaller candles. That's called ranging. Yes? So when you, for example, bring this over like this, and you start to look here, now this makes sense. We understand why the market is not going past this level. We know that there's a barrier here that's being respected. You see? RCB. So now, as we're watching, we're waiting to see, okay, got 2 minutes left. Market is respecting this barrier. Let's see if it sets up an actual trade. And this is what you're doing throughout this time. You're just waiting to see if the market actually sets up and gives you a trade in addition to presenting this RCB that is here, because you understand why the market's not going past this. You see? Just based on what I described and the tools that we're using. Just now. I just went through it. It's helping this to make sense to you. You see? So this is just not some arbitrary thing that you're seeing. You're seeing this and you're understanding why the market's doing this. You see? You understand why. And that's all you wait for. All right, let me open the ticket real quick. So we'll take a look at this under the microscope. So now we're under the minute mark. You got 6 here. And if you see 5 here, you would be able to click in, because the 5 represents the +1, which is one of the confirmations that we use for entering. Now, mind you, see how I'm looking at this. Now, I know that many of you would be looking at option pricing, and there goes your +1 right there. So the +1 was at around 40 seconds or so. So many of you will be looking at this, and you'll be thinking, "Oh man, there's no pricing." See, the thing about the process, when you apply the process, you don't worry about the pricing, because this pricing is only a mechanism used on the platform. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's no orders that's available to take the opposite side of the trade that you're entering. So because we just apply the process, it is what it is. If we get filled on the trade, so be it. If we don't, so be it. You see? So just now, that actually was an entry. So let me mark this. This was RCB, and this was actually an entry just now. Now, you may or may not have been filled on it, but regardless of whether you were filled or not, the process was done correctly. That was it right there. That was it. That was RCB. If you didn't get a fill on it, this would represent MRMH also. You see? So this is what I mean about just waiting. When you wait for the market to present, let the market do the work. Don't try to force the market to do anything. Let the market do the work. And what will happen is you'll find that trades will come to you if the market aligns, because that's the only time that you're even seeing a trade, if it does set up. See, any other time doesn't represent a trade for you, because just now, if you entered that wasn't based on the trade setup alone. The only reason you would have entered that just now is because of everything I explained prior to that. You see? So this is how we operate as professionals. We just applied the process over and over again. And if the market decides to give it to us, that's what we'll be in. If we don't get it, it is what it is. So acceptance, that's also part of our process. Oh, Mark, I didn't get filled. Okay. So what? It's okay. Some of them you will not be filled on. Some of them you will be. What's important is that you're applying the process properly. So this is an excellent observation tonight, because I literally explained, and then you got to actually see it come into manifestation just now. So the replay value of this is powerful, because you get to see an example of how a trade unfolds, not an example of a good trade. Hold on. Because that's going to be the next question that most people will ask. Well, Mark, so that was a good trade? What I just showed you just now really had nothing to do with the trade. That was the execution of the process that we use. You see? That's all that was just now. I didn't just pick a good trade just now. I'm sitting here observing and just watching. Our process, that's what we apply. We don't do anything else. We apply the process and wait. Oh, well, Mark, well, what about the parameters? Well, you just saw me apply the parameters just now. You had the +1 at around 40-some seconds. That validated the entry. But the only reason that anything was valid was because of the existence of RCB. What does RCB mean? That the market was stable. Go back and watch this video again. That was excellent. And it wasn't excellent because of trade setup. It was excellent because you understood why it was a valid trade. That trade just now wasn't valid just because of the +1. That entry was valid because CB. Stability. That's what validated that just now. All right. So this process has been reverse engineered. Most people, when they trade, they're looking for trades. When we trade, we end up in a trade only if the market is stable. There's a difference. The only way that we'll be in a trade is if the market is stable. Because that's how we'll know the outcome of our trade. And when I say stability, it includes everything that we observe. Market ranges, that's the first indication. When it creates a barrier, it respects it and creates a cluster. As it's doing that, market is also remaining in the box. As a result, as it does that, if the market is in range, we apply parameters. If the market's out of range, we do nothing. In other words, if it's too far away from the strike, we don't do nothing. It's out of range. We also call it out of position. But if it's in range, we apply the parameters. You get the +1, click. So again, let me repeat that part. Out of range, nothing. In range, +1, click. And this takes place only when the market is giving you the layers of stability. In the box, range, respecting barrier, creating the cluster through the candle movement. You see it all unfold, you see it all manifest. And when it does, that's going to be the trade that is going to be valid when it sets up. See how the market moved into another position? What is it doing now in the new position? What's it doing again? Same thing it's already been doing. Y'all see this? Same thing it was already doing. And you want to see, so now this makes sense to you. It's like, well, why is it doing this now? See, we understand why it's doing this now, clearly. Because it was already doing it. This is what's dominating. See, this is the dominant behavior right now. And that is how we know. So when you learn the process and you train, you work on your mindset, you develop your patience, your discipline, you're really becoming a different person altogether. Because what you're turning into is like a lethal weapon in the market. You'll be developing fearlessness. You're not going to be scared of applying the process because the process works. You're not going to be nervous or afraid to do anything. You'll have full confidence. Full confidence. You'll have so much patience. You'll never feel like you missed out on anything. Oh, I could have took that one. You stop doing that. That right there is that's a big problem for people. The fear of missing out, that's heavy for a lot of people. It's like a weight. Oh man, I missed that, man. Mark, I'll be missing these trades. When there is no trade. See, when there is a trade, you'll apply the process and you'll get filled, you won't. When there's no trade, you don't worry about missing anything. There was nothing to miss. Don't look back and say, oh, that one would have won. A lot of trades set up like that. You know how many trades set up that would have won? But if you don't understand why it won, it doesn't matter that it would have won. And once you do begin to understand why, it's the why that you look for, not the trade. Whoa, 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 whoa. You look for the why, not the trade. Yep. And that's what we do. All right. So if you guys had questions, please feel free to ask. I'm not going to be on too long tonight. I'm actually getting a little sleepy. I ain't going to front. Eyelids getting heavy. So if y'all got questions, speak now. Forever hold your sleep. Forever hold your sleep. So one of the things that like you see how right now the market's positioned in the middle. What the market could do is you'll see a larger candle move and it will reposition the market either to the top or to the bottom of the box. And if it's within range, what will happen is you'll see option pricing over here. The reason that you can even look at option pricing and it mean anything is because you know that the market is already stable. So you're seeing nuances. So for example, the fact that you're seeing some pricing here for a buy when the market just moved lower just now, the reason that you're seeing that is because the actual position of the market is within range of this strike at the bottom. It's within range. It's not out of range. Look at where it is. It's at 5. So that's why you are still seeing some pricing here. You see? So the nuances start to make more sense also. When you see the market in the middle, you're like, all right, I understand that the market actually needs to reposition itself in order to create RCB that you can use if a trade comes. See, there's nothing you can do when the market is sitting in the middle of the box because it's out of position for both strikes. That's why you won't see any pricing on the option. The market has to reposition itself somewhere, and it has to be repositioned relative to either the top or the bottom of the box. Now, you'll see times when the move or the repositioning will keep the market in the box. And then sometimes you'll see moments where it's a candle like this one, where the repositioning actually relocates the entire position of the market into another box, like it did on this candle. So this candle repositioned the market down here, into this new box down here that was here earlier. You see? Whereas this candle here just repositioned the market to the bottom of the box. This candle repositioned to the bottom of the box. And in the current box that we have, this one did it a little bit here and repositioned and made it relative to this strike price here, which was the bottom. But you saw pricing briefly because the market didn't go much closer to the strike. It stayed within range, so you did see some pricing. You saw it just now. It was in the like 85, 86 area when this candle had came down here. So you see how you make more sense out of things when you have stability in the market. When the market stabilizes, everything makes more sense to you. It's like, okay, well, why am I seeing pricing sometimes and then other times I'm not? Well, because the market has to be in position relative to your strike when the market is stable in order for you to see pricing. See? Same reason why you'll see no pricing on either strike when the market's in the middle. When it's in the middle, it's out of position for the top strike and it's out of position for the bottom one. So you won't see pricing on either strike. You won't see pricing on either option. And you understand why. See, now when the market's not stable, you'll see pricing. And that's why you can't just use pricing by itself, because pricing by itself doesn't tell you about stability. Our tools tell us about stability. See the difference? So that's why option pricing by itself, no, it's not something that you can utilize and make use of. Understanding why option pricing is what it is, that's how you start to make more sense out of everything. And you're only going to understand what option pricing means when the market stabilizes, which means that you need to see or understand what the market looks like when it's stable. So you see, stability is the key, even to understanding option pricing. You see that? Powerful stuff, man. Powerful stuff. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up, man. I'm going to bed. I'm getting tired. I barely keep my eyes open. All right, so y'all know what it is, Mark Fuller, TeamAlliance. I think this is volume 38. Is it? No, 37. Yep. I'll see you on the next Coffee and Charts, live market observation, or the podcast. All right, y'all know what it is. Peace. Dom DeMarco, Dom DeMarco.